What is this? Book Review City? Yeah, it is. It is, to be fair. To be fair, Book Review City. What is it also? Traumaland? Yeah, again, 1,000 times over. Traumaland Book Review. Let's go. Wow. Initially, thoughts. Wow. My name is Dan. My name is flabbergasted by this book. Um, yeah, obviously, spoilers ahead. I'm gonna kind of go over the plot in as little detail as I can because I don't want to waffle on. I want to do more of a synopsis kind of vibe, but also knowing me, probably gonna get sidetracked by that. So we'll see how that goes. So yeah, I'm gonna do all that, and then I'm just gonna talk through my thoughts. Gonna talk about the ending. Oh my god! And then yeah, yeah. If you have read this book already, or I mean, even if you've not read it and you've read the blurb or the title, you can probably guess heavy topics in this book. So trigger warning for mentioning of issues around like mental illness, violence, entrapment, that kind of thing. So yeah, so getting right into it. The kind of premise of the book, I suppose, is well, the opening chapter, I believe, starts in a therapy session. Yep. With a lady called Melinda, and our main character is a boy called Eli. I'm fairly certain he's, I want to say, like, I kind of don't want to guess, but I think he's like a late teenager, maybe like 17 or so. So he's living at home with his parents, and yeah, he's getting therapy. He's had a traumatic incident happen to him regarding having a manic episode where he ends up in a car crash with his dad, and his dad like just about survives, but yeah, it's a close call. Um, so yeah, that's kind of the premise of the book, and it's just about kind of in the beginning Eli not being able to feel emotions anymore because of the trauma. He doesn't actually remember the trauma. A lot of it is just kind of what he's heard from his parents and his therapist. He does remember kind of snippets here and there, but overall doesn't remember it. So yeah, he's kind of, to get kind of into the plot synopsis, he's on this kind of project, he calls it, to feel something, basically, kind of get some emotions back and start feeling like he can live again properly. So his task that he gives himself is to steal from someone, and it's a really interesting like start to the book because I feel like when I was speaking to people when I first started reading this book about what it's about and what's going on in the book, a lot of people were like, "Oh, that sounds heavy," and I'm like, "Oh, like yeah," but I feel like that's not how I really like took it. Because yeah, I think as much as it's a lot of heavy topics, and yeah, he's kind of not dealing in any way healthily with the stuff he's got going on in his life. Because he is so emotionless and he's got this kind of wittiness about him, and he's really sarcastic, and he's just so like matter of fact and like, yeah, like I'm so like mentally unwell. What of it? And like just the way he he lies a lot to like his parents, and he's just so like, oh god, guys, get on my back. Like I just wanna cosplay and like do weird shit and steal from people. Like just let me live my life, you know. Um, and it's just yeah, it's like really funny. Like a lot of this book is quite funny, which I think it definitely benefits from because it is that heavy. So yeah, it's interesting because yeah, the beginning of the book is just quite like a fun read. Because there's this like literally the bit of the book where he's kind of plotting and scheming about who to steal from. He's like by this like bus stop, and you can see like these teenagers and stuff, and then like an old lady, and then this like kind of emo looking person. Um, and he's like trying to like think like, oh, like which one of these is gonna make me feel the worst, like kind of provoke most of a reaction. So he's like, oh, like the old lady would be great because you know it's an old lady, you know, helpless, perfect. And it's just like quite, yeah, it's quite funny. Um, so yeah, she ends up stealing. He ends up stealing. Sorry, from someone called Nisha, who ends up becoming a relevant character for the rest of the book. Um, and then yeah, so he steals her phone. She's got a sticker on the back of the phone says Traumaland. I don't actually say, is it to say Traumaland or is it? It's got anyway this bunny on it on the sticker. I'm not sure if it's got the name of the place. I think it does. Anyway, you get it. It's fine. Um, so he's like, oh, that's interesting. What's that? So he ends up going to Traumaland, this place. Yeah, from the back of the phone, and it's like insane. There's everyone's dressed up in like Halloween costumes, basically. The fact that I'm posting this book review just after Halloween is pretty timely as well. Great book to read around like October, Halloween time. Highly recommend. So yeah, goes to this place. Everyone's dressed up, and yeah, there's kind of like this waiting room. Everyone looks bored, and he's like, "Is this it? Like, what? What is going on?" And then goes into this kind of central zone, and there's like a timer that's like slowly ticking down. And there's all of these rooms that have like words above them, like bucket, gun, knife, things like that. And then you pay. You basically go up to them, and you can pay like £10 per minute, and there's a maximum of 5 minutes, so £50. And then you can basically, it's like a kind of roughly put together. I don't think the space of Traumaland isn't really presented as massively like it is obviously futuristic, but I don't think it's that swanky and like the technology, like the way the VR kind of headsets are described. Like they're not your like the VR headsets you'd probably be thinking of. They're kind of roughly put together. And it is kind of described as quite like a grimy, like underground scene. So you go in and you like put on these headsets and you can like basically watch other people's traumas pan out. So that happens, and then he finds out that Nisha actually works there at the bar. So he's like asking her all these questions, and yeah, she basically like is trying not to really engage with him. Obviously, not the most happy with him after the phone and stuff. She does actually end up getting her phone back as well. Forgot to mention that, but yeah, and she's like, oh yeah, like paid actors like do the thing. I'm not allowed to watch the videos, etc. So yeah, that happens, and then he watches one called Bucket, which is a trauma of Jack's, who we don't know yet, but at the end of it, yeah, Eli like sees himself in the whole like VR video thing. So obviously he's like, what is going on? So he freaks out and he's like, yeah, basically gets kicked out by bouncers. I knew this was gonna take a while to go through because I'm just like so detail oriented. Oh well. Anyway, so he meets up with Nisha afterwards, and she's like, I can like kind of tell you about some things, but like I need to be careful because the owner of the place, Casimir, she's basically like living with him, and he's basically got like quite a lot of control over like the venue, her, everyone, and is very like particular, as she says. So she's like a bit scared, but she's like, okay, like let's try and figure it out together. They find out about tier solutions, which is like very important to the book. And they go to Casimir's like cleaning room area thing in this like big office block, which is the same office block that has where Eli gets his therapy. So they go there, and it's like this weird cleaning room, and there's like these little like folders and like container things with like chips in them in like the washing machine, and like hidden in weird places in this like cleaning janitor's closet kind of situation. And they find that a lot of them like have like Jack's name, Eli's name, Jack and Eli, a lot of stuff relevant to Eli. So yeah, Eli ends up watching them whilst there's like security around. It's very stressful. So yeah, that happens. So then, yeah, basically Eli finds out from these chips that he watches with the VR headset that the trauma that he was told that he had with the car crash and the manic episode did not, just didn't happen. Crazy. Basically, what had happened was kind of had a similar starting point. He was having a manic episode and he was getting violent with his parents. And then he gets into the car and is intending to go to Tesco, but then ends up, like his dad ends up getting him out of the car and an ambulance is called and he goes into the ambulance and then goes and gets like institutionalized. Is kind of the gist that I get from it. So his dad didn't, yeah, there was no car crash at all. His dad didn't get hurt from the car crash, which is kind of insane to me. I don't know. Maybe I'm gonna go into that later, but that's like a whole thing. Like that's wild.
Okay, so I didn't end up telling you about this later, but basically, I think that that's really insane because he ends up basically making Eli feel way worse about his trauma than he had to, because there's this element of like, are you, yeah, like your dad nearly got hurt, which obviously, even if that had happened, that wouldn't be Eli's fault in any way. But like, there's just no need to like make that up because there would be a risk of Eli then like feeling like things are his fault and being made to feel like, yeah.
Yeah, and then he finds out as well, yeah, from this Eli and Jack chip which he takes, that basically he had this whole relationship with this guy called Jack, who was at the same kind of hospital that he was in after he got institutionalized after the ambulance in the manic episode. So he finds out about all that, which is wild as well. Absolute cinema. Yeah, they also find out that Eli's parents spent £920,000 to remove these traumas and also some of Jack's traumas and for Melinda's therapy. Oh my god, crazy. Government, people in power, wild. What are they spending their money on? Get it together, guys. Anyway, so Nisha's helping out, trying to dig into this hole. They're all like, just like unraveling things, and oh my god, the book's so good. It's just like, you just keep finding out crazy stuff, and it keeps on getting crazier and crazier, and you're like, wow, when does it end? Insane. So yeah, after he finds out about him and Jack and their like relationship and stuff, he goes to find Jack and finds him like swimming in this pool nearby this place that he's staying. And he's trying to explain like, I know you and like you need to come with me. Obviously, Jack, having had his memories removed as well of Eli and of his own trauma, he's like, what is going on? I don't know who you are. Get away from me. In the end, manages to find a way to get him to come with him. Eli's getting messages from his dad like, why are you using my credit card at this like random pool Lido place? And like, I'm coming to get you. You're in danger. It's not safe. Oh my god, this, I think probably this part of the book was the most like intense to read because I was just like, oh my god, like so much is happening. Like my heart is pounding. Um, yeah, just like so much going on. So they end up escaping and they go into this park area, and then Eli shows Jack all of their memories and stuff, brings the VR headset and everything, and then they go to Traumaland, and yeah, so then Eli finishes watching the bucket trauma and finds out more about that. Yeah, and then also sees that there's a trauma like room in Traumaland that says Rose. So he's like, oh, that could be to do with Jack because relevance of, there's like a, yeah, Rose is relevant to Jack basically. And then yeah, he finds out that basically Rose, who is Jack's, I believe, younger sister, basically Rose died, and he was told by his parents and by his therapist, etc., that Rose died in water, but actually Rose was K-worded by Eli's dad, the government human who is corrupt and awful. So that's like a whole thing. And that's basically one of the reasons why Eli's dad wants to get rid of Jack's memory, is because he doesn't want him to spread that around and kind of ruin his career or whatever, as a result of what happened with Rose. And also just doesn't want him to be associated with Eli on the back of that as well. And I think it's also presumably a bit about just having Eli be within his power. Like, I think power is a big theme in this book, and I think, yeah, like Eli's dad, you know, he has money, he has power, and he wants his son to be the way that he wants him to be. He wants his life to be how he wants it to be. He wants everything to be fine and dandy and all beautiful fairies, blah blah blah. All, well, yeah, in his eyes anyway. Definitely not. That's not the way it is. Yeah. So really strange, very fucked up, if you ask me. Yeah. That happens where we're at in the synopsis right now is maybe like here. So there's actually not that much of the book left after that point, but it's so much happens in that space of time. Like, it's like blah, 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 one thing after the next. Like, your heart is in your chest. It is a wild roller coaster to go on. Basically, they're in Traumaland. Security guards take them away. They meet Casimir, the owner of the place, and he's like kidnap them and tie them up, and he's like threatening them and like being all creepy and weird. And then basically Nisha comes in and is like, oh, I don't know who these people are. Find out that Nisha's presumably had her memory wiped, and also that her name's not Nisha, it's actually Amy. So then we find out that in retrospect, one of the traumas that Eli had watched like way back when was one of Nisha/Amy/Violet, that person, that character who has multiple names, that she goes by. And then some strangers come in and they're like beating people up, and they're like, oh yeah, we're gonna save you, take you away. And then they're in like this back of the car, and it's all like suspicious, and they're like, I don't know who these people are, but they're like, oh, it's okay, we can't tell you too much, but you know, you're safe now, it's great, cool. And then they go to this room, and Lucas and Melinda are there. It's like, hello, Melinda, no way. She's part of Two Solutions and part of the whole problem, so like, what is going on? But I think because Lucas, Eli's brother, is there, Eli and Jack are just kind of instantly like, okay, cool, like, trustworthy, got it, like, initially a bit upset, but here to listen, explain, etc. And basically Melinda explains the plan. They're gonna like report everything to the police and get Eli's dad like locked up, whatever, and then they're gonna take him to a safe house. And then she mentions towards the end that basically there's an option for them to kind of install or remember, I suppose, their old memories that were taken away from them. And at this point I was like, hold the phone. No way, man. Like, I know Lucas is there, but Lucas is brainwashed as well. Lucas is a part of the family that has all of, like, Lucas knew about what was going on and he's not said anything. And I know it's his brother, but like, they've not had much trust building. There's not much like a basis of a relationship that we see throughout the book between Lucas and Eli, enough for me to be like, okay, cool, we trust Lucas full-heartedly. So I was just like, no, what are we doing? And Eli and Jack talk about it, and they're like, yeah, why not? Yeah, let's do it. No, oh my god, the stress. When I tell you, golly gosh. And then naturally, yeah, they got their memories wiped again. Classic. Yeah, what else would you expect, I suppose? So then God, Eli wakes up in hospital, and basically majority of the book, like all of what had gone on, is just wiped from his mind. The last thing he remembers is being on the roof when he was trying to like feel something by like tempting, I guess, like danger and stuff in his brain. And he was like dressed up as, I believe, the Joker. Um, and yeah, his parents just tell him that he like hurt himself, and then yeah, 2 days ago. So yeah, for God's sake. And it's really interesting because at this point in the book, basically Eli is kind of like his old self again. Like at the beginning of the book, where he's very just kind of emotionless and like sarcastic and quite like witty and dry in his like humor, and like the way he's like approaching life is really like, yeah, like weird and detached. So yeah, it's really interesting seeing him go from being like that in the beginning of the book to then like going through all this chaos and like finding out about this romance that he was in, and like meeting Nisha and like building trust with people again, and getting scared and feeling good and bad, and like all of these different emotions that he's been trying to feel. And he's like getting all these emotions back, and he's like living his life, and obviously so much shit is happening, but it's like he's in a way glad that he's getting things back, and his brain is like working, quote unquote, like better again. And then it just gets taken all away from him, which is like great. Okay, cool. Really hate these people that are doing this to him. And then yeah, so basically the kind of book ends there, and then there's like an extra chapter which is kind of epilogue vibes. But then yeah, Nisha arrives and she has this writing on her arm which Eli wrote on her, which says, "The truth is out there and it's not what you think. Signed, Elias Pugh. Property of Tier Solutions, floor 1, half a house." So that is the end of the book. Cool. Thoughts overall? Just yeah, again, wow, like just genuinely so good. And yeah, I think, as I said, like near the beginning, it's really interesting to read with Eli as a narrator because he is so like emotionally numb and detached from the world around him and everything that's going on. It does kind of feel like initially like a comedy, and then it feels like definitely more of a thriller, a psychological thriller, because that's what it is. But it has like these moments of like warmth and like hope, and it does really take you on like such an emotional roller coaster. But also I feel like the pace of the book, because the more the book goes on, the more emotions Eli starts to feel. It kind of feels like you're going on just like an uphill roller coaster, and it just keeps on going. And I feel like in terms of the tension of the book and how much I wanted to read more, like it did generally like kind of go in that kind of pattern. And the way it made me feel, oh my god, just so much. And I guess that's interesting as well, because it's like Eli's on this mission to feel something, and similarly, yeah, you start off like not feeling much, and then you feel a lot. And so it's definitely like a journey you take with him, which is really cool. And yeah, I definitely like the elements of romance and hope in the book too. I think they were definitely very welcomed breaks within the chaos. And yeah, they definitely had like a certain amount of like warmth to them, and they added like really good points of hope and kind of a through line of, this is the reason why Eli's making the decisions that he is. This is why he's investigating things. This is why he's staying in contact with Nisha, and why he's trying to find Jack. Like, it does make sense. I think it adds that kind of that emotion and that feeling to the decisions and the plot of the book that is like really good and needed. And it's just really interesting seeing the relationship blossom between Eli and Jack and Eli and Nisha, because yeah, I think at the start of the book Eli is someone who is very alone and isolated, and is very much a product of his family and what his family wants for him. So to see him kind of going out on his own, making his own decisions, and finding out about his life more, and like discovering himself, I suppose, is just like really interesting and beautiful to see him become more himself and more free from the confines of his family and the therapy and everything, and just see him develop his emotions and his personality and kind of get back what he'd lost from his his memory being taken away from him. So yeah, that was like really beautiful to see. I was going to say as well, I really like the visuals that are put in the book to do with the tattoos. So like the Remember Jack, and then Jack having Remember Eli on the back of their head. The like matching bird tattoos, and the fact that Eli draws one of those on Nisha as well, kind of like that visual symbol that kind of bands them all together. And yeah, I just think that's like really beautifully like described in the book. And oh lordy, there was, as I said, this book is quite funny in many places, which I do enjoy, and also adds that kind of like relief and sense of hope and lightness to the book, which is welcomed as well. But there was a quote in this book that I was like, oh my god, it got me. It got me cackling. I'll read it to you if you want. Listen, thank you, Nisha. I like you. You're very kind. She frowns at me, and I think she's about to tell me I'm the weirdest person she's ever met again. Instead, she says, I like you too. I suddenly panic. I'm gay, by the way. God, that gets me. Just thought everyone should experience that because, oh my god, incredible. Chef's kiss. I think it was really interesting as well reading a book written from the perspective of someone with ADHD and kind of seeing those like thought processes and that kind of quick thinking, and like seeing Eli and Nisha interact in the way that Eli's brain is working, and Nisha kind of sometimes being a bit like unsure of how to like interact with it, and then Eli kind of saying like, oh, ADHD, and Nisha's like, oh yeah, checks out. But yeah, I thought that was like really cool and like great to have that representation in like a protagonist. I think it's really interesting as well, like even before you find out about, with the plot unraveling and stuff, about the tear solutions and the trauma being like removed and all of that. Even before that, it's really interesting in retrospect thinking about the family dynamics at the beginning of the book, because it is such a thing of like, I don't know, it's presented very idealistically. His parents really like, kind to him generally, and very supportive, and really want to make sure that he's like safe and that he's like doing well in therapy and just want the best for him. But at the same time, you can see snippets of them being controlling and being like, we want you to be this kind of way, and we want you to do this, and we want this for you, and this is the right thing because we think so, and we don't particularly care about what you think. And I think there's an element of like, because I guess Eli is their son, and also because Eli is mentally unstable, I think there's a kind of indication that they, on the back of that, they think that they should have complete control over what Eli's life is like and what decisions are made for him. And it is very much that. It's like decisions are made for him, not by him. Which again takes us back to the whole control dynamics within that family. And I think something which kind of presents that is the way they are about Peter, which is the neighbour's son, who Eli has been told has a crush on him, and Peter, from what you see throughout most of the book, is just like kind of polite, nice. Eli likes him enough, but not like isn't romantically interested in him. And they are very different um, in just like personality and sense of humor and everything. Um, and you kind of find out that yeah, basically they've been playing matchmaker and have been trying to be like, oh yeah, you should like go on a date and like you should do this together. And like Peter shows up at one point and like wants to go on a walk with Eli, and Eli's like, yeah, sure. And also because he's in the stage of still trying to feel something at that point in the book, it to him feels like a good opportunity to be like, oh, maybe I'll fall in love on this 10-minute walk or whatever it is. So he's like trying to focus on that, and then he finds out that basically the main reason it seems like Peter wanted to go on the walk with him was because he's been hearing about kind of yeah Eli through people at school and presumably through his parents and that kind of thing, and he just thinks of him as kind of like this spectacle to be like laughed at and like investigated or whatever, which is like gross. So he's like asking him all these questions that are super invasive and inappropriate. So I think, yeah, kind of one note, that's horrible. But also on another note, that kind of does reveal that this whole thing of like, oh, Peter has a crush on you and Peter like would be such a great couple is just like lies. And just them trying to, again, control what Eli's life is like and what he does with it. Which is, yeah, just really not good, is it? And yeah, they're pretty master manipulators when it comes to that kind of thing. So, the ending. Okay, here we go. Yeah, I was really intrigued to see how all of this was going to be wrapped up. I kind of got the gist of where it was going to go. Presumably, yeah, things get resolved, and then hopefully, I guess in an ideal world, um, yeah, Eli and Jack would run off into the sunset together, and they'd be able to get away from the parents and everything. But naturally, that is not what happens, which I respect. I think as much as when I was reading it, I was like, oh, I want things to end well. I was also kind of thinking like, but also I think it would be quite a like interesting narrative decision to not give the reader what they want, because ultimately, I guess it's a toss up of like, are you gonna try and resolve stuff, or are you gonna try and make a commentary on just like the state of everything surrounding Eli, Tear Solutions, the parents, Traumaland? Is that ultimately going to be the thing that has more power in the plot? And realistically, yes, like those things do have more power than Eli and Jack do, unfortunately. So it does make sense. And yeah, I think the kind of ending where Eli returns to the character that he is in the beginning, which is very like emotionless, sarcastic, witty, detached, all of that. It's really interesting to see that kind of come full circle. It's obviously really frustrating to see 2 days, which is pretty much the whole book, removed and just kind of see him like go back to square one. That's really like disheartening to see, but also like interesting and like yeah, just really powerful as like a plot point to kind of come back to that. And also they referencing back to what I said about Peter. They say like, oh, don't you know your boyfriend Peter? So now they've gone like even a step further, like just creating like insane lies about like I don't. How would they even keep that up? Are they gonna then like get Peter to pretend to be a boy? I don't understand, man. These people are insane. So yeah, the epilogue is Faith in Goodness, which is where Nisha basically comes in towards the end of it, and basically says that she remembers some things, as I mentioned from the plot synopsis. And I think that that's quite interesting, and it's quite nice having that sense of hope at the end of the book again, because that is kind of like, I guess, the pattern of the book. It's like, oh my god, all these crazy things are happening, but also here's some nice hope and like something to like shoot for Eli and his future. So I guess it's quite nice that comes around again. I did like that as an ending, but I also think if that wasn't there, like it would still be a really solid ending. And I think I would almost prefer that if it was more like open-ended, sorry, and kind of like, okay, so things are bad again, and like, what's gonna happen now? Which I guess both of them are kind of open-ended, but I feel like not having the bit where Nisha comes in feels like it is more committing to just being like, we're not going to give the readers what they want, and we're not going to give Eli what he wants, which feels like more of a statement than being like, we're not going to give Eli what he wants, but also here's a little thing again, just a little bit of something. Yeah, so I'm kind of conflicted about how I feel about that as an ending. But yeah, overall, I think, yeah, just this book is so amazing. I genuinely think it's maybe my favourite book I've ever read. Over the past maybe just over half a year, I've become a massive bookworm, which is not me at all. I very rarely read books. I struggle to concentrate on reading books. But because I recently got Libro FM, which is like a audiobook app where some of the proceeds of the purchases you make and stuff go to like a local bookshop of your choice. I've just been really excited about that app, and just finding new books, and audiobooks work a lot better for me in terms of focus and concentration than reading physical books do. But also, if I've got a physical book and my audiobook, I'm locked in. My focus is going nowhere. But I feel like with this book, I mean, my focus probably wouldn't have gone very far anyway, because it is just like so engaging, so just wow. Yeah, just like really got me. It really got me good. Let me tell you that. I mean, the length of this video probably says enough about how much it got me. Yeah, just so cool, great representation. Really loved the characters. Really like found them, a lot of them, quite relatable. Thought it was very like Black Mirror-esque in its vibe, just like a really interesting like modern take on therapy, and yeah, just like modern technology with VR stuff. I'm also pretty sure I read some of the author Josh Silver is actually a qualified like medical practitioner or like therapist. So that's like really interesting knowing that, and then like knowing about kind of all of the stuff that he's written about. Obviously, it's a topic that he knows well, which is cool. And there's also Happy Head and Dead Happy. I basically have been reading Happy Head for the past day or so, which is the first one in, it's like a series, the two of them. And that is also about like mental health issues, and like an institution which has control over these like teenagers and stuff. And things just going kind of insane. So I'm really excited to read that, and excited that there's going to be another book after that as well. But yeah, I looked at the reviews online. This is really well reviewed, as very much deserved. I would easily give it 5 out of 5, no question. So yeah, but I think it is actually less well known than the other two, but it makes sense because it did come out this year. Yeah, and yeah, I think it's also makes sense that if that is true what I learned about Josh Silver, that the topics of mental health and the way it's addressed in this book are dealt with so well, in my opinion. I think as someone who has struggled with mental health issues, like I really didn't find this book triggering at all, and the stuff which was heavy, I just like, I don't know, I feel like I found it more intriguing, and like I was locked in and within the whole world, and just like excited to be in the world, and like, I don't know, like learning about the characters more and stuff than I was like concentrated on like, oh, this is a bit heavy. So yeah, I think it was like, it's just so well written and so well dealt with, like all the topics, and yeah, incredible, absolutely bloody incredible. So yeah, highly recommend this book. Thank you for listening to my rambly review, and happy Halloween.